What if India and China actually teamed up? Would we even need US anymore? Can that make US drop the tariffs? And more importantly, can India even trust China? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Tanya, and in this video I'll break down how likely or unlikely the India-China partnership is. Now, if India and China were to join hands, I am not saying that they suddenly should become friends or sign a military alliance. No, I'm talking about strategic cooperation, like having a united front when it comes to trade forums or regional trade blocs, backing each other in WTO, BRICS, coordinating on issues like green energy, climate, AI ethics, etc., or just quietly supporting each other when the West tries to push either of these countries. See, on paper, this idea looks very tempting because both of these countries combined have over one third of the world population, a combined GDP of over $20 trillion. They both are nuclear powers, they both are in BRICS, and they both want a multipolar world where the US is not the only boss. But will they? Because see, India and China have a lot of issues. They've got border disputes, they've got trust issues because of China backing Pakistan. They have got ideological differences. One is a democratic state, the other is an authoritarian state. And on top of that, the things become even more complicated because India is close to Quad, which is a partnership of US, Australia, Japan, and India, and it is very close to Western tech, whereas China is in a cold war with US, isolated completely from the Western tech. Now, in today's scenario, if America does not like a certain policy, it either puts tariffs or restricts access to its tech. But what if India and China come together, they start trading more with each other, build regional supply chains with no US as a middleman, and start negotiating as one bloc? In that scenario, Asia will be able to set its own rules. Second is the dollar gets competition. Now, right now, the US dollar dominates the global finance. US puts sanctions, freeze assets, or block SWIFT access because it has dollar. But if India and China work on financial alternatives, for example, local currency trade in rupee and yuan, or a BRICS payment system, then that can give serious challenge to the dollar hegemony. Now, again, this does not mean that it will kill the dollar, but the world might be a little less dependent on dollar, which means less US control. Third is infrastructure and energy power shifting to the east. Now, we all know that China loves to build. Take China's Belt and Road Initiative for that matter. And India needs infrastructure. Now, I don't think India will let China build its core infrastructure, but what can be done is India-China jointly creating infrastructure outside their borders in Africa, Southeast Asia, and Central Asia. And in this way, these regions will not just look towards West for partnership and development, and the united front against the West becomes a little more powerful. Fourth is India and China can come together to be the voice of global South. See, America leads G7, but BRICS is now becoming BRICS Plus. If India and China come together and talk on issues like WTO reforms, IMF reforms, and development loans, then the developing world will finally have a counterweight to the West. And moreover, they can come together to even resist the Western narratives. Like sometimes the West labels India as protectionist and China as authoritarian. Now, obviously, India and China do not align ideologically, but they can put forth the message that we want a multipolar world and not the one that is led by US. Now, if all of this does happen, will America become irrelevant? No. It will still have power, but it will just be one power among many powers. It will not be the center of everything anymore. And here's the thing, India does not want to replace US dependence with Chinese dependence. That is the whole game. India doesn't want to be dependent, it wants to be autonomous. It wants to have options and alternatives. So if India and China cooperate, even limitedly, America will not collapse, but it will lose its monopoly on power. And that might be enough to change the whole global order, or even start to change the global order. Now, so in this whole India-China partnership, here are some things that I think will absolutely not happen. Number first, no military alliance will happen. Number two, no joint digital currency, at least in the near future. And number three, no deep tech sharing. Because I don't think India will trust China's chips and digital platforms. So what can India do realistically? First, again, it can build options, not overcommitting to either US or China, or altogether bypassing the whole US-China bloc, and strengthen its ties with ASEAN, America, Latin America. Plus, building its own self-reliance in digital platforms, chips, and most importantly, making sure that G20 and BRICS are bodies that set rules and not just follow them. So India and China coming together even on 2-3 small issues will reduce pressure on India and give India some breathing space to work on its long-term independence. Even the idea of India and China coming together increases India's leverage. Because in geopolitics, again, it's never about picking sides. You don't have a friend, you don't have an enemy. You only have interests and dependency. So, can India and China come together? I think maybe yes, in parts, not fully. But can India and China coming together make America ease their tariffs or offer better deals? I think absolutely yes. But let me know in the comments what you think. Can India and China come together without compromising their core interests, or am I just fantasizing?